This country needs 1,000,000 living spirits, on the courage of the right reason. Against the lies of apostate publications on academics. Against publication, Gentile superstitions about us looking at it with the soles of its feet. Take a look at this. Headline of mass media. Nalanda University, reopening the sheet history of where our ancestors studied in India. Is it true? Nalanda University, founded in the 5th century AD by the Gupta dynasty, 72 kilometers from the city of Patna, the state capital of Bihar, the oldest university ever founded in the world. Nalanda University at its time was named Nalanda Mahavihara, Great Nalanda Monastery, experiencing a glory of nearly 800 years, namely from 427 m 1.197 AD. The greatness of Nalanda University is marked by the number of students who come from abroad to gain knowledge, including students from Sriwijaya who are based in Sumatra. It's a mass media publication, really. The publication above is one of 1,000,000 superstitions of other nations about our ancestors, then we say, Omni, and share in spreading it. Watch this. Chinese records about the archipelago that prove the archipelago is the beginning and center of Dharma learning. Wei Ning, traveling for 3 years on the island of Java 664-668, add to translate a sutra about Svarga, assisted by a Javanese expert named Jnanabhadra. I-Tshing, in 671 AD departed from Guangzhou. After sailing for 20 days, he landed at Fo Shi, the island of Svarnadvipa. I-Tshing, one of the 3 famous pilgrims from China. The predecessors were Fa Xian and Zan Zhang. Yi Jing was escorted by the king to Malayu, stayed for 2 months. From there he left for Jicha, Kedah, 671 AD. After from Kedah to Nalanda, then back for the second time to Malay, he stayed for 4 years. According to him, Nalanda has become part of Shili Foshi, Malayu. I-Tshing, he lived for 6 months in Palembang and 2 months in Malayu, Malayu to India in 671, and after that lived here for 10 years, 685 to 695 AD. Here in Svarnadvipa, he met Da Jin, who left 10 volumes of sutras and literature etc. In 695 AD, Yi Jing came home to be greeted by Wu Zetian. He brought 400 texts of books, 500,000 verses, and a map of the location of Vajrasana. In the book Nane Ji Gui Nifa Zhuan, posts of practical notes of Buddhadharma, mentions that in the territory of Foshi, there is a center of education, Dharma, the South Indians call Suvarnadvipa, now called Sumatra. On the island of Svarnadvipa, in Foshi where to study, Pankavidya, which includes lessons in grammar, medicine, logic, art, craft skills and the science of managing the mind, which in local Malay is called Tapo, and higher is called Bethara. I-Tshing stayed for 6 months to study Sabdavidya, or Sanskrit grammar, not in India. I-Tshing, he even recommended that if the monk wants to go to Nalanda, it's better to study first in Sriwijaya. The copperplate Nalanda inscription, 9th century AD, found at Vihara I Nalanda in India. King Pala with the descendants of the Sailendra dynasty named Balaputredua from Sumatra, built Nalanda for the sake of development of his education center in Svarnadvipa, Nusantara, now Indonesia. University, Dharmak, Education Center in Kanva, named Dharma Phala. First they're from Nalanda, a location in Minanga Kanva, Kampar, the site of the Takas estuary. Here you can find artifacts, evidence of once standing large complexes that have been running for more than 14 centuries BC. Muara Takas site is not based on one of the 2 Indian religions, because here there was once a center for basic Pulsafal learning that underlies the growth of the 3 religions there, Dharma. Dharmak, Nusantara, the initial philosophy of monotheism, Hyang Widi Tunggal, before the Samawi religion came. And we are obliged to restore the true history of this country. Question. What do they have in common? The 3 main basic principles of great teachings in India as well as Tibet. Where does the main philosophy come from and originates? And if the original teachings of the archipelago contain the word Dharma, was this teaching philosophy imported from outside? Take a look at this. The word Dharma, generally translated into English, is a word interpreted to be law, sometimes referred to as morality, dharmic. Dharmic comes from the root word dur, which means to maintain, uphold, maintain, protect, which in the adjective gets the affix ic attached to its human. In contextual language throughout Indian philosophy, dharma implies the meaning of religion. Dharma is presented as a central concept used to explain the higher truth or ultimate reality of the universe. The term dharma is the dominant spiritual and religious term in India, which means the duty of a righteous person or any pious path, in the general sense of the term. The antonym of dharma is adharma, which means unnatural or immoral. The four categories of dharma in the Theravada Abhidhamma are 1. Sata, mind, consciousness. 2. Cetasika, mental factors, mental events, related mentality, there are 52 types. 3. Rupa, physical events, material form, 28 kinds. 4. Nibbana, extinction, cessation, this dharma is unconditional, neither arising nor passing away due to causal interaction. There are 3 kinds of dharma in Mahayana. 1. The highest dharma of all, sarvasu, anuttara, namely, nirvana. 2. The means for attaining nirvana, nirvana prapti upaya, or the noble eightfold path, aryastasgamarga. 3. All kind words, subhasita, honest words, satyavakana, the noble eightfold path. According to the classical thinker Madhyamaka, all phenomena, dharma, are empty, sunya, of nature. Substance, or essence, swabhava, which gives them solid and independent existence, because they are interdependent, arises. But this emptiness itself is also empty, it does not have its own existence, nor does it refer to a transcendental reality that transcends or is above phenomenal reality. In Jainism philosophy, dharma is the attitude of nonviolence, not being arrogant, mardava, known as dasalaksana or the 10 indicators of spiritual purification. In the Srimatham, Mimamsa, dharma is an act which the Veda instructs through the passages of his commandments and which is conducive to the happiness of all beings. The One Almighty God, single Hyang Widi. Next, in the travel notes of Xuanzang or Ha-Huan I-Tshing, Ha-Huan also I-Tshing or I-Tshing 671 reported that Svarnadvipa was a place to study dharma, in the location of sun without shadow. King Pala descended from the Sayalendra Balaputredua dynasty from Sumatra, built Nalanda for the sake of development of his education center in the archipelago, namely, Dharma Pala. Dapuntha Hyang is one of the names of figures carrying the philosophy Dharma, after Sariputra, Dharma Kirti also Atisha Tibet. Outside the archipelago, also to India from Minanga Kanva, with the big ship, Panchalong, before and after AD. Muarataka's site. Here once stood a center for learning the main basic philosophy of Dharma, which is still depicted in Borobudur and perfectly preserved in Bali. So, all sites as well as original teachings in the archipelago are not based on one of the 2 Indian religions. However, the philosophy that is still depicted on the Borobudur site is also recorded in the original teachings of the archipelago. Is the basis for the growth of the 3 religions there, Dharma. Travel records of Xuanzang or Ha-Huan I-Tshing, a Chinese monk who traveled to various countries in 602 to 664 AD. A published interpretation of any record must always be not the previous Indonesian archipelago. Pay attention to what Xuanzang or Ha-Huan I-Tshing wrote down. Kiao Shang Mi Kaushambi country. Note. Kaushambi Kiao Shang Mi has been identified with Kosambi Nagar, an old village in Jumna, about 30 miles from Allahabad, Tafsir, Cunningham. Is it true? The country has an area of about 6,000 li and the capital is about 30 li. This land is famous for its extraordinary productivity of rice and abundant sugar cane. The climate is very hot. Inside the city, there is an old palace. There is a large vihara, 60 feet high. Inside is a figure carved from sandalwood, above which is a stone canopy. About 100 steps to the east there are signs of former rituals, as well as a walking route, and there are seats of crowned ceremonial leaders. From this side and not far away, there is a well used by the Tathagata and the baths. The well still has water in it, but the house has long been destroyed. Inside the city, In the southeast corner there is an old residence, which only has ruins. This is the house of Goshira, Kyo-shi-lo, the Lord. In the center is a holy place, and a stupa about 200 feet high. Here the Tathagata has taught the law of Dharma for several years. To the southeast of Sangharama, on top of a 2-story tower, there is an old brick room where Vasubandhu Bodhisattva lived. In this room he composed the Vidyametricity Sastra, Wei Kai Lun, which was meant to refute non-original principles. To the east of the Sangharama, in the middle of the Amra forest, there is an old foundation wall. This is where Bodhisattva Asa Asga composed Sastra, which is called Hinyang Xingqiao. Southwest of the city 8 or 9 li, is a rock dwelling the venomous Naga. The Tathagata leaves his shadow here, but this is the tradition of the place, no shadow remains visible. To the northeast of the residence of Naga is a large forest. After passing about 700 li, we crossed the river and heading north we came to the town of Kiyoshi-Pulo Kasapura. This city is about 10 li in its territory. The inhabitants are rich and happy. Next to it is a stupa built by the king, about 200 feet high. Nearby is a sign where the Tathagata walks to and fro, as well as a hair and nail stupa. On the side of the city is the old Sangharama, whose foundation walls alone exist. This is where the Dharmapala Bodhisattva refutes the arguments of the heretics. The law, Sakya, becomes extinct. This will be the last state in which it will survive. Therefore, from the highest to the lowest all enter the borders of this country. Watch this. Keywords to clarify where the location is meant by Xuanzang or Ha-Huan I-Tshing in his travel notes. Dragon. Dharmapala. Sakya's law. Sandalwood. Old foundation wall Sangharama. No remaining shadow is visible. Dharmapala, 670 to 580 BC, was born into a noble family from Svarnadvipa. He was a student of Dharmadasa, became the principal of the school in Nalanda. He was a Dharmakirti teacher. On the bas-reliefs of Borobudur written literacy, the word Mahachakya means great power, or people who have great power, Kakya, or Kaka, Sakya. The ancestors of Dapuntha Hyang I-Tshing or Yijing wrote that he visited a religious education center in Svarna di Vipa, on the island of Sumatra, which is on the equinox equator, in 671 AD. No remaining shadow is visible. This is the equinox line. And the equinox line, the sun is directly above the head when there is no body shadow at the estuary Takas site, Kampar Riau, Sumatra, Indonesia. Also, the explanation of all of the above by Xuanzang is here. The information above is evidence of the original Dharma teachings originating from the Indonesian archipelago. So, it is not appropriate that the current historical record states that the pre-Islamic kingdom as well as its site originated and embraced teachings that were born in India. But the teachings depicted on the site of the Indonesian archipelago website, and which are perfectly recorded in Bali, are the original dharmics that underlie the birth of 3 teachings in India: Hindu, Buddha, Jaina. By Santo Saba.